tried reasoning with you, Woody, but you keep forcing me to take extreme measures.
I just realized I've never reviewed a Toy Story villain. When you think of Toy Story villains, I'm sure a lot of people think of Lotso since he's the most memorable toy villain. And then of course with the humans you got Sid holding down that side, but what about Stinky Pete, the villain from the second film? After looking at him further, there are a lot of interesting things about the Prospector not found in really any villains. So how good of a villain is Stinky Pete? 1 to 10? Let's find out.
Sputnik. Once the astronauts went up, children only wanted to play with space toys.
Nobody wanted to buy Stinky Pete when he was on the shelves, maybe because his name's Stinky Pete and it'd be a little weird if you bought your child that toy. But it also could have been that he was just the goofy comic relief character on the show Woody's Roundup. The disinterest in him as a toy was intensified when the humans went to space, making all the kids of the world only obsessed with space toys, like that one Chris Evans action figure guy. Eventually being bought by the Chicken Man, no, not that Chicken Man, Pete would wait to be reunited with Woody so that they could be sold to a museum in Japan and live happily forever and ever and ever. Obviously, they need Woody to be a part of the collection or else they're useless, so Pete's whole motive in this movie is to get Woody to Japan. Not only is the motive unique, but it's very special in the sense we understand him perfectly well without getting a big drawn out backstory. Being in a museum where kids will adore you forever, that sounds pretty sweet if you're a toy. Otherwise, no it doesn't. And being locked up in a dark storage container, that sounds awful. For both humans and toys. It makes complete sense why he wants what he does, and he lays out some pretty solid points to try and get Woody on his side. He doesn't even really feel like a villain in that sense, just somebody who's going against our main characters.
Well, finally my waiting has paid off, and no hand-me-down cowboy doll is gonna mess it up for me now!
Yeehaw! Prospector is cool because he goes through such a wide array of personalities in the movie, and I really like that in villains. He starts out like your grandpa. He's a nice guy who gives advice and is legit just trying to help everybody out. He says, "Oh, Woody, don't forget to eat your vegetables." By the end of the movie, though, he gets far more aggressive when he feels like it's his only option. He's treacherous, manipulative, unfair, and says, "Well, friggin' Woody, you shove those vegetables up your ass." What I like about Pete, though, is that, yeah, he's acting out of his own self-interest, but you also get the feeling he really cares about his companions and believes he's doing what's best for them. He gives Woody this little speech about how going to the museum is better because Andy is eventually going to move on and forget him. Which is actually a pretty good point. It perfectly foreshadows Toy Story 3 and makes the two movies tie together even better. Kelsey Grammer is a underrated actor and he does a lot of great voice work, and he does so good in this role because he brings whatever emotion he needs to. When they need him to be fatherly or just like, oh, jolly old guy, he brings that. But by the end of the movie when he flips and he has to be that like selfish kind of jerk, he does that really well too.
How long will it last, Woody? Do you really think Andy is going to take you to college?
A lot of twist villains suck. Like a lot. Disney villains of late tend to be some of the main culprits. You know who you are. Stinky Prospector Pete, though, is an amazing twist villain because it just feels so natural. It's surprising, but it still makes a lot of sense, and I like it because we learn through the twist more about Pete as a character. A lot of twist villains just go eeny, meeny, miny, you. Good news, random character, you're our villain now because we need a villain. But it doesn't feel that way here. Throughout the whole movie, Woody goes, "Aw, gee, guys, I gotta get home to Andy. I can't go to Japan." When that happens, it's always Jessie who gets visibly mad at Woody. She gets salty, she gets bitter, and the movie makes it seem like this matters way more to her than it does Stinky Pete. But actually, no, Pete just simply takes a calmer strategy. You can always tell there's this anger deep down inside him towards the world and kids, specifically space toys, but he's smarter than to express it, especially to Woody. Yeah, it creeps out from time to time, but for the most part, he keeps it hidden. He prefers to stay calm and try to convince Woody because that's far more effective than just getting mad at him and screaming like Jessie does. I like the airport sequence at the end because it's really one of the only scenes we get full-on villain Prospector, but it is kind of short, at least his role in it. Still, I enjoy all the contrast between his scenes, all of the early ones where he's being kind and wise, playing even better into the twist at the end. All of the scenes feel purposeful as far as furthering the character, and I just think it's tied together really well.
Your choice, Woody. You can go to Japan together or in pieces. If he fixed you once, he can fix you again.
The Prospector is a very realistic kind of villain in the sense he's not overly evil and cartoony, even though he's a cartoon, I know. He hides his anger and aggression until it's needed and only really drops the nice guy attitude when things get desperate. He's a villain who makes a lot of sense, and I understand how weird it is saying this, but he feels very real. Villains in real life are usually like this. They're not mustache twirlers, they're manipulative, and they get hostile when their own self-interest are at risk. Great job, writers.
Don't be mad at Jessie. She's been through more than you know. Why not make amends before you leave? Huh?
Honestly, I'm surprised how much I enjoyed Stinky Pete revisiting him. He's a very simple but well done character. Obviously, Toy Story is a great franchise, but this villain is yet another example of just how good the writing and characters are. He's a great villain, all his motivations feel real and effective. Kelsey Grammer is great. He's just a really well-made character. He's a twist villain to serve him, the other characters, and the story, not just for some cheap trick or to add more suspense or surprise. I'm gonna give Stinky Pete an 8.
Why, the prodigal son has returned.
Thank you so much for watching. I make a new villain review every single Monday, so make sure you subscribe. Let me know what you think of Stinky Pete in the comments below. And the poll for next week's villain is up, so go vote for that. Check it out.